it. We're almost there. It's almost football season. It's almost that time, but it's the time for the red zone. The red zone today, with all the experience around the world. Josh Tobat, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy Inc. and ISD, Garden USA, making sure that we're here together. As some schools have already started, some schools are about to start, but you know what? This is why we're here together, making sure that we learn from each other. I don't know if I said it because I'm getting older. Josh Tobat, principal of Memorial Pathway Academy, Garden ISD, Garland, USA, ready to rock and roll. So let's make sure that we take out those tool chests. And if you watch this on the rebroadcast, that you share it, like it. It's very important that you like it and send it out there because you know what? Iron sharpens iron. So if you're in Alaska, Hawaii, prayers to Hawaii. We love you. We've been praying for you. God bless you, all of you going through all that. New York or Florida or anywhere in the 48 middle, we're ready to rock and roll. It's all about kids because they're the future of America. About that, Dean Packard.
Josh Toba, you are un fuego, my friend. And I'll tell you what, we are joined tonight with an amazing cast of educational personalities from coast to coast. That excites me, Josh. You know, I'm Dean Packard. I'm the proud principal of Bay Path Regional Vocational Technical High School. That's a great big line right there. That just means that I'm just another servant leader out there trying to make people around me a little bit better. It's great to have you all with us tonight, Josh and Martin and Rita and Joe and Dot. Thank you so much for joining us. We are super excited to have a lot of you guys. You've all been on the show before, but coming back again for another round just excites me. So great to have you all with us. Let's quickly start off by going around the room. Introduce yourself, your title, what you do, and where you're from. Let's start with Martin. You're in the house first. You're up.
Well, hello there, everybody. I am Marty Silverman. I am the just retired
congratulations
principal after 40 years in public education, just retired in June, and I am here in beautiful San Antonio, Texas.
Well, I can't wait to see what the next chapter is written about for you, Martin. You are an amazing man. Rita, you're up.
Hi, I'm Rita Wirtz, if I haven't met you before, and that's WIRTZ. I am a former school principal, pre through everything. Yes, and I'm currently with School Pro on the literacy team, School Pro K-12, do keynotes and webinars, and I'm also an author, and I'm a featured blogger for BAM Internet Radio, and I just love you all. It's back to school, and that's the most exciting time of the year. I'm so glad to be with you. Thank you.
Love it, Rita. And again, I love that you're back for some more with us. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Professor Joe Pizzo, great to see you, my friend. You never, ever stop.
Never.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I'm Joe Pizzo. I'm getting ready to start my 50th year in the middle school classroom on November 3rd.
Let's stop for a second and just absorb that, okay? Hold on. Say that one more time for the audience.
I'm getting ready to start my 50th year in the middle school language arts classroom on November 3rd.
Wow.
My jaw just dropped to hit the floor, and thank you very much for your service. You're not just a teacher, my friend. We're going to come back to that and learn a little bit more about you. So thank you, Joe. Great to have you back with us once again. Dot, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. I'm Dot, better known as Dot Jeter, with 33 years in education, 23 as an administrator. I am a retired principal. However, I am mentoring new principals right now. That's my job.
Mount Olympus.
Yes. Mentoring new principals. Help them survive.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Josh, you're up.
All right, now, as we start off the 23-24 school year, we want to make sure that we tell everybody out there what inspired this longevity, right? Because no one hits that 33 mark, the 40 mark, the 50 mark fire. So what motivated you, Professor Joe? What was that fire that keeps you going for 50 years? Who ignites you? Who was your role model in education?
And that sounds like two questions, because the reason I've kept going is of course the kids. If it weren't for them, I tell them straight out, if I came in every day and all I had was paperwork, it wouldn't be the job that I signed up to do. I signed up to be a role model. I signed up to be a motivator. So I come into that classroom every day doing that. The gentleman who was my first mentor, is a gentleman who is now retired, living down in Texas. He is one of the most incredible mentors I think anyone could ever have. Everyone in the district appreciated him, came to him when they had a problem. He would help to solve it, and was always just very kind. He was Mr. Joe Burns when I first met him, and he became Dr. Joe Burns when he received his doctorate in administration supervision out of Columbia University in New York. And always found the good and praised it, as we hear in Alex Haley's Thank You. Find the good and praise it. And that's as much a key as anything. I read something today where it said, you can have the greatest school in the world with the greatest set of expectations and rules and motivators, but if you don't have the right culture, it doesn't matter. And that's so true.
Awesome. I love it. Martin Silverman, who motivated you? Why did you keep going? Talk to us.
What motivated me? Well, my goodness. Well, a guy's got to earn a living. First of all, you gotta start with that, and have a family and have kids and grandkids, and all of that costs a little money. But seriously, education is and was such a dynamic field. Things changed every day. And, people say that and it sounds cliche, but it's really true. I was I was an administrator for 33 of the 40 years. And it was, on my last month of being principal, there were things happening that had never happened before. And so, it's an exciting place to be, giving back to communities and helping people become better and kids become better. What better thing is there than that?
And who motivated you as a professional, as someone that was there in your shoulder talking to you?
Oh my gosh. I had a phenomenal administrative mentor. Unfortunately, she passed away a year ago at a very young age. And she took me, I had been a principal and was doing what I thought was a great job, and came to realize myself that I was not as good a principal as I thought I was. I asked to be moved to assistant principalship. And she was my principal when I was an assistant principal for a few years until I became principal again. And her name, Michelle Barrera, she was everything. She was the one person I ever worked with that could see big picture and small details. And she taught me that it was okay to cuss at work. And she taught me that it was okay to have a lot of fun with people, and to, that you don't have to be serious all the time, and that you can enjoy the people and enjoy the work. And that when you develop, as Joe was saying, when you develop a culture that makes people want to come and makes people want to stay, that was everything to me.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. That's very beautiful. Well, I would like to welcome Samantha and Moy. Thank you for being on the show. Dot,
Okay.
why were you?
My parents motivated me. I was content as being a teacher. I was fine. I had fun with my students. But my parents saw something in me that I didn't see myself. They said, you need to be a leader, not an administrator, but a leader. And so they forced me to go back to school. Matter of fact, they signed me up. My mother forged my name on the papers. I didn't even go down. I came home one day and she said, come over. And she said, you start school Monday. I go start school. She went down to Roosevelt University here in Chicago and forged my name and signed me up. She must have had some connection, but it was the best thing ever. I love being a leader. I love to see people grow. I like to inspire people. I look for the best in everyone, and I pull the best out of them, and so they can go forward. So I believe in pulling people up. So my mentors were my parents. Yes.
What kept you driving? What kept the drive alive for 33 years?
The love for the students and the teachers. Because I built a family-oriented building, very positive culture. We were like family. So it's the teachers and the students and the parents, that the community that I worked with. So that's what made my job so easy. It's because of the type of relationship I had.
So, Dot, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on that. How did you bring the people up around you? What does that look like from a leadership lens? I mean, what things did you focus on to build capacity of the people around you?
Let them know that I know how we're all equal. We're here for the same thing. We're here. We have the same vision. As far as my parents, I looked at them as family. So they wouldn't be afraid to come into the building. I was there to help them. They were my number one priority along with their child. So we had this community that we were all equal. I didn't make them feel like just because they were a parent, I'm a principal and I'm way up here and they're way down here. No, we're on the same level. The same level. Trying to reach the same goal.
A servant leader. And I love that. You put their needs on the equal plane as yours. I love to hear that. Hey, listen, I'm going to continue with this question right now and go to all three of you guys. What brought you peace when you served in the role of a leader in your building? What was the one thing that you really found that really balanced you and brought you that peace? And Dot, why don't you start?
The piece is just to see people, individual students, happy walking through the building. They came to work and the students came to the building with a smile, not a frown, that they were happy to be there. And I was happy to see them. No matter what I was feeling inside, never displayed on the outside. I always felt let everyone feel like they were special, which they were special, and let them know that they were number one in my life. So that peace was to see everybody at peace, being happy and feeling good to walk into the building.
I absolutely love that. And I'll tell you what, that's transferable power is what I call that. That allows people to see themselves, who they are, and to be able to grow and build capacity. I love that from a leadership standpoint. Rita, welcome back. We know we had a technical issue there.
We certainly did.
So Rita, we're talking about what brought you peace when you were acting as a building administrator. What was the thing that actually made you feel comfortable with who you were and what you were doing?
When I saw that we'd done the turn and that the kids were starting to behave and were having a really great time, and so was the staff. But right from the beginning, we went with a shared leadership model, and that made all the difference. I stopped leading staff meetings right at the beginning, and everybody was rotating to have it in their room. So everything changed right at the beginning because it had to, because prior to my accepting the principalship, they were hitting kids and it just wasn't a good culture. So it's always about starting with the culture. When you become a principal, or if you've been there 10 years, it's always about the culture. And the culture has to be one of shared leadership. Personally, I know not everybody agrees with me, but I've never felt that people buy into things, honestly. I've really always felt that if we come in with our own vision and then build the mission statements, that's not as effective as if everybody had a say right from the start. So if you're really sharing leadership and it's horizontal, then you have a better shot at getting out of the office and being in the classrooms and being in the cafeteria and being on the school bus and being the phantom. So you used to talk about management by walking around. So that's the management piece that we really do only what we have to do. If we can get others to be doing that, we're better off. To really be the skilled leader that we need to be as a principal, we have to be able to be out of the office and be visible. And to have that happen, it's not a question of people buying into stuff. They have to see that what's in it for me, I can make this happen. One more thing, because I missed a couple of minutes messing with what happened here with my stream. I really feel it's important that we change what we're doing with teacher evaluation as well, and that people are self-evaluating themselves and no outside evaluators, not tied to test scores, none of that. I believe beside that people should be picking their own staff development, that I saw threads as we were getting back to school where people absolutely hated putting sticky notes up. They hated doing gallery walks. They wanted to be in their classrooms. And we really, it would behoove us, we're really way, way better off if we have people pick out what they want to do and where they want to get that information. And our little icebreakers are killing people. They're not fun. People don't want to. This is general. The And they don't want to do it. They want to be in their classrooms. They need to be working. So anything we can do, especially this year, to get things back on track, get the teachers have those plates more unloaded. They'll go to board meetings with us. They'll sign up to do that if it's that culture that they see it will benefit them. They will sign up to do teacher meetings in their room with them leading it if that's our culture. If it's our culture that as a principal, we work with new teachers every single week and do walkthroughs with them and then come back and discuss best practices that we saw. If these things are built into the culture from the start, we're way better off, and they will be ready to lift with us because it no longer is ours. It's not my teachers. It's not my school. It's our teachers. It's our school.
Mm-hmm.
Lift
Yeah.
with us. I like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
the same direction
Yeah.
to build capacity. Rita, Dot, thank you so much. Martin and Joe, I don't know what you got left to say, but man, talk about your piece because I think the ladies have stolen some thunder right here. So Martin,
Yeah.
you're up.
Yes, I'm not going to repeat them because they were just speaking the truth right there. But I will tell you this, one of the things that has become, and I noticed this when I was, so I'm going to do the Mount Olympus thing, right? If we're, I think that's your kind way of saying gently aged, right? Highly experienced,
Seasoned.
very mature. So I'm going to go with that and say, the thing that I learned, and this was when I was in my 40s, say, and as a principal, and I thought things were so important that turned out to not be important. Like every one of those numbers on the data chart that was given to me, and I was told, fix this. That was not important. And the story I love to tell quickly is, I went to a meeting our district used to ask us to do back years ago, come to a meeting and bring the 3 lowest math objectives in grade, right? So we would bring that, right? I would come to this meeting and it occurred to me that those 3 lowest objectives were the lowest objectives in the state, in the district, everywhere. And that they also just represented 4 questions on the state exam. And, the state exam in Texas is everything. And so, it occurred to me that you can't lead instruction by worrying about the 3 lowest math objectives in 3rd grade. That people take things so seriously that they really don't need to take the stuff they need to take seriously. Dot, you were talking about it beautifully. Make your families want to come there, want to be there, and they will people will climb mountains for you if you just like you were saying, Rita, if you are cognizant of who they are as people, what they need, and where we want to go as a group. And so stop sweating all those objectives in 3rd grade math.
Mm-hmm. Can I add on to that, Dean?
Sure.
Can I add on? When you just said that, Martin, about focusing on the 3 lowest, what you focused on, where your attention goes, your power flows. So if you focus on everything low, you're not going to get high. So when the title Mount Olympus, if I remember correctly, that's a high mountain, I think like 77,800 something feet. Well, see, I look at it metaphysically as a mountain being your consciousness, and that's a high mountain. You have to have a high level consciousness to get high level results. So that's why I wanted to piggyback when you said they were concentrating on the 3 lowest. What you concentrate, that's all you're going to concentrate on. Just think high. Have a high level consciousness. Okay, I just wanted to throw that in because I was.
I want to tag on that because I agree. We need to stop calling them struggling readers. We need to stop retaining 3rd grade readers that haven't met arbitrary standards.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take and get rid of the words learning loss altogether. So we need to really be talking about the kid at the back because generally the one that's acting out the most is the one who's probably the most gifted. So
they're bored. That's why they act out.
Okay, we are blessed.
Yeah, okay, that's right. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We are blessed right here by what you're saying. There's no doubt about that. We're about to unleash 50 years of experience in this next individual. Joe, take it and give us perspective, please.
I'd like to take a different direction with this, if I may. People tell me that I think outside the box, and I usually look at them and say, "There's a box."
Right.
I really, I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a webinar 2 days ago with AMLE, and I brought this point up, and I want to share it here as well because I think it has a lot of relevance for all of us on the panel. I talked about the idea of the influencers in the world and how social media gives power to influencers.
Mhm.
And I think as educators, whether we're in the classroom, in the building, making the materials, whatever it is, we're influencers.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that that's powerful just with this little example. If I were to ask any school, who won last year's Super Bowl? I have a feeling that a low number, might be 85% of the kids, would get the answer as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mhm.
If I went in there and I said, who won last year's Nobel Prize for Literature? I don't think any of us would know. And actually, it's Annie Arnaud. Now, that name doesn't ring true to almost anyone
Mhm.
unless you're really into the Nobel Prize.
Right.
But that might be part of our problem, that the things that we value are the things that are connected to the influencers. So if we're going to do something, we have to be the role models in the schools, and we have to be the influencers in the schools. I still remember a student coming back to me years after he had me when I taught a public speaking class. And out of nowhere, he said to me, Mr. Pizzo, I was so proud that I did well on my speech that I gave in high school. I said, good, way to go. He said, and I remembered something you taught us like 5-6 years ago. I said, what is it? He said, you told us when we have a script and we put it up on the podium to keep our finger, one finger, to follow the script down. Because if we get interrupted, when we look up, as long as we keep our finger there, we never lose our place. And I said, Paul, you're absolutely right. He says, yeah, and I used that and I got interrupted and I didn't lose my place. And that's being an influencer, and all the things we do, all the kids we lift up every day.
Right.
The kid who has no one really to compliment them on the new sneakers they bought, or the answer that they got right in class.
That's right.
That's what we do. We're not just robots. We're not just purveyors of knowledge.
Mhm.
AI can do that. But the difference between the teacher and artificial intelligence is in the name itself.
Mhm.
Artificial. No emotion. Nothing creative. All by formula.
Right.
None of the genius in the world was created by formula. Not one bit.
Okay.
Well said.
Love it.
I mean,
love it. Love it.
No doubt. The influencers.
Yes.
We'd like to welcome Carolina for being part of the show. Thank you, Carolina, for being here. All right. We know that we have, there's been a drastic change in the field of education. We can't get team members in our homes. It's difficult. And when we do get them, they're alt certs coming into our home. And so they didn't go through the traditional way, high school to college to student teaching and into the classroom like all of us did. So what kind, knowing that we know that we can't find vacancies here. So I have a couple of vacancies still. What advice can you give a very first year teacher, a novice, for this 23-24 school year? Martin.
Wow, there's a lot to advise them. You know, I would say find your people, find your supporters, your cheerleaders, your people who will be for you and do for you and help you through. Your mentor is not always going to be the person assigned to you as your mentor. It's going to be the person that you connect with. And so I would give them the advice immediately to find their people.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Martin. Dot.
Mm-hmm. I would say, you know, just like Martin said, get people to connect with, but get the right people to connect with. You don't want to get the complainers, etc. Get the right people. But as a principal standpoint, when I have a new teacher, I'm their biggest advocate. I'm their mentor because I want them to be successful. And like I tell them, you're going to make mistakes. But the thing is, you're not a mistake. I'm going to say that again. You will make mistakes, but you're not a mistake. So I would tell them, come into my office when you feel frustrated. Come into my office. Let's talk about it because I've been there, done that. I've been there. Let me help you through because I don't want to leave them. I don't want them to leave because right now, as you know, it's a shortage. We have to try to keep teachers, not only that, principals. Every day I'm hearing about a principal leaving. I know a couple of districts here in Illinois where the superintendent just left. You know, and so just like I tell my proteges now, the people I mentor, right, they're constantly saying they'd be glad when things get back to normal. I say, I don't, because who said normal was right? I want things to get better. I don't want it to be the same. Right. Who said it was right? Because if it was right, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. You know, so I said, I want things to be better, go beyond where we were before. You know, but thanks, I was their biggest advocate. I didn't always want them to depend on the teachers. It's good to connect, but sometimes to connect to the wrong person. So I was their mentor. I pushed them on because I wanted them to believe in themselves and let them know you're going to make mistakes, but I'm here to help you correct them.
The story stays true since I heard it in early 1990s in the teacher's lounge. Stay away from it.
I totally agree.
Stay away from there because you know what? If you see her the negativity, it's just gonna for agreements. The toxicity is gonna get into you. Joe, talk to us. Advice, new team member.
I think one of the most important rules when you enter that building, the people you need to connect with, of course, are the students, and of course, they're your colleagues, and of course, the administration. But don't leave out the custodians. Don't leave out the folks in the cafeteria. Don't leave out the bus drivers. Don't leave out the paraprofessionals, because without them, we don't have a school.
Right.
They do more behind the scenes than sometimes we do in our classrooms. That custodian that takes the troubled kid and says, come on, come help me out. Talks that kid through some situations and some problems. That's worth more than 4 days of in-school suspension because you broke through, you made that connection.
That's right.
Another thing I would say is let your students have a voice.
Yes.
And let them be able to make some choices. Not, are we going to work today or not? No, that's absurd. But it may be, okay, here are 4 different ways to achieve the same objective.
That's right.
Choose the one that you work the best. I'll tell a quick story. One of my colleagues came to me after a team meeting. He said, Joe, I'll walk up to the classroom with you. All right. He said, one of your students was talking about you in class today. I said, I hope it was good. He said, yeah, he paid you maybe the best compliment. I said, oh, okay. He said, the student said that when you do your lesson plans, you've told them this. And I said, yeah, that you imagine that you're sitting in their seat. And when the plan is done, you take a look at it. And as that 12-year-old sitting in that desk, you say, okay, what do I think about this? Not as the teacher who made up the plan, but as the 12-year-old. Does this make sense? Am I asking the kids to do some fancy artwork that I couldn't do if Picasso were on my shoulder? And I know that. So it's the common sense things. The kid who's having a problem, don't scream at that kid because now you've made it a me versus them situation.
Right.
Give the kid something to do. Tell the kid that you need to ask him a question or her a question. Go over in the corner and very discreetly say, is there something wrong today? Something I can help you out with?
Yes.
I really want to work with you. I don't want to work against you. I like you. You're talented. Let's go. Let's try to work this out. And that means more. And I can tell you, I've had much more success with that than screaming down a hallway.
Wow.
Yeah. That's right. Kids don't care about what you know. They want to know that you care.
Well, we're talking about observing closely,
Mhm.
listening with intention. And then I'd like to bring up, which I like to bring up from Brad Hughes. One time I heard Brad Hughes say on his podcast, Brad Hughes, the principal, and he goes, always ask the second question. And I wrote back to him and I said, would you tell me a little bit more and give me the link on that? And it made huge sense because when you're walking around, and hopefully as principals, we're in the classrooms co-teaching with the teachers, that's when you make the big difference. But if we say to somebody, how are you doing? They're going to go, I'm okay.
Mhm.
So if we're listening and we're observing, and then we ask the second question, we say, how are you really? And when we get into the how are you really, then generally speaking, someone will come forth with what's going on and we can be more of assistance. But the idea of principals getting stuck in their office is the biggest issue of all. Because if you're,
Rita, what do you say to a brand new teacher? What do you say? Talk to a brand new teacher. What are you going to tell them?
I'm going to tell them they better come see me every day and tell me how it went. That's what I'm going to tell them. Come pop in after school, or I'll come in and pop in at your lunch, or I'll see you in the hallway, and I need to know what's going on. But the biggest thing is when I'm with that teacher and it's not adversarial, it's not about evaluation. I want to go co-teach with that teacher. Then I know what the class is like, and then we can be more honest. Also, if we are forced to do formal evaluation based on the way it's always been done, I always said the teachers sign up for when you want me to come in. Tell me what you want to do. I want you to look good. I'm not trying to find fault. The purpose of evaluation is not to prove, it's to improve. So if the teacher says, here's what I'm going to do, and I go in there and that lesson sucks, it's horrible. They're having a problem that day. I say, we're going to throw this one out. So we'll figure out what didn't go right and let me come back. Just reschedule it because I want you to look good. So when we have that trust built with a first year teacher that we've hopefully hired, it's really cool. And in the last month, there were 3 teachers that I not only got to bring on as student teachers, I hired them. They taught all these years and they just retired. And I'm like, I'm the last one standing. I'm the only one left. So what we do matters.
Awesome. And as we go hand it over to Dean, everyone brought up the second question. Hey, the second question up there in the corner, Martin Silverman, check out that podcast. The second question, Dean Packard.
Absolutely. Listen, now, what would we say to that first year administrator who's taking on the role of leading an entire faculty, an entire student body, and to try to make them feel comfortable within their role? And why don't we start off with
Say that again. You kind of like went in and out. Repeat that.
No worries. What would we say to a first year administrator who is taking on the job of being a principal and a servant leader in his school or her school? What would you say to them as words of advice for them to be comfortable within their role?
Chill out. Have fun.
Have fun.
Yep.
Well, I'm in that situation right now because the person that just took over for me had been my assistant principal. And the thing that I told her that she needed to do was before she had her first meeting with staff as principal, I told her, develop your stump speech, your elevator speech, determine what's going to be important to you and why it's important. And so that people can know who you are as a leader so that they can understand how things filter through your things that are important to you. So, and she just literally texted me today and told me how well that went. That even though people knew her, they knew her as an assistant principal, but as principal, it made a huge difference, framing the whole rest of the beginning of the year.
Right. And then consistency will be very important because they're always watching to see that we're consistent. If we say one thing, that better happen.
Right. They listen to what you say, live up to your word. Yeah. That's and I tell my assistants that I mentor and the principals, get to know your staff, meet with them one-on-one, not as a group, but meet with it. It takes time, but tell them something about you. Let them tell you something, they tell you something about them, because just like you said, you could be an assistant principal, but today, But
Right.
now you're a principal, you're in a different role. So they have to look at you in a different way. But get to know yourself, even the custodians, the lunch, get to know everyone
Right.
so you can build that rapport.
Home visits still work. And
Yeah.
also, I have to say that the very best staff development day that we ever had, we went bowling.
Mhm.
Bowling.
Yep. We all went bowling. Afterward, I got called into the superintendent's office because I didn't get approval. Of course, I didn't get approval. If I asked, he would have said no.
But it was after school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it was during school. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's another story, another session.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm a trailblazer, I'm a badass, and I'm a maverick.
Mhm.
I always have been.
Drop-
It's not that I flout the rules because I'm cool. When you have a school that's been consistently not successful and children getting beaten, and more
You
than
need to do
50%
something,
are sleeping in cars and stuff. So if you're going to have to feed them, get clothes, then the other things I suggest, seriously, go to the universities, whoever's closest to you, find social work interns. If you can't afford social workers, get the interns, get psych interns. We need more trauma-informed stuff going on because we know our kids, many of them are still acting out because they're either disengaged or they never even came back that we have to worry about it. We don't know where they are. So if they are there, we need to have more systems in place so that they're not just running the hall, banging their head and slamming on stuff. So any services that we can get, we need to get. We have to think. That's where we think out of the box. And nobody ever thinks about social work interns, psych interns, students that have to do X amount of hours of tutoring. And the more you can bring in to lower that class size. And then, of course, that's where your dropout prevention grants and getting money to feed them in the morning, to get them clothes and to do after school and Saturday programs if you can do it. These are the things that have to happen now. Our schools need to open up our gyms to homeless students. We need to be the center of the community. We need to stop the fighting over the best way to teach reading. We have to come together as administrators and those of us who love schools to the nth degree and for our whole breath coming out of our bodies. This needs to happen. I think we're in the best possible time right now. We're in a defining moment where we can loop kids, we can do cross-lateral, we can do more project-based learning. We have to do things that we know are different, but they're going to work because the step stuff with data points and it's not working. It's not, we'll never catch kids up. What are you catching them up to? So why don't we really let it rip right now, not where we're being inappropriate, but the best possible education that we never thought we could do, we can do right now.
Thank you, Rita. Absolutely. I'm sitting here again with my jaw dropped and saying you're right on with a lot of things. It might be difficult to get, but let's hear from Joe Pizzo on this next one right here too.
Colleague of mine, Dr. Ken Pasek, and I give a lot of workshops, and we talked about grit and resilience one day and climate and culture. And we said to a group of, and these were outstanding educators, teachers and administrators as well. We were with the cream of the crop. We said that you have to work together. It's a team, that the administration has to support the teachers have to support the administration. And the most disheartening thing happened. We saw half the room shaking their heads up and down in approval and mumbling, yeah, absolutely. While the other half kind of frowned and looked at each other with this, what are you, serious? Kind of look. And so we shifted the whole workshop and talked about culture a lot more and about trust.
Yes.
And how you have to build that trust by listening.
Yes.
By opening that door, by walking in and offering help, by extending your hand, by saying, hey, if you need something, come to see me. If I can't get it for you, maybe we can figure out a way to do it anyway.
Yeah.
By putting a little note in somebody's box, hey, I walked by today and that was a great lesson. Way to go. Anything, just it's the little things that build up and they become the big things. That's what you remember. You remember the stories, you remember the events. You don't remember who taught you Pythagorean theorem on which day and
Right.
what you got on that test.
A squared, D squared, yeah.
It's important, but it's only a foundational piece. People never see the foundation, they see the building.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we need to make sure that our buildings look good, because while building that foundation, we have to know where that building's going up and what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm. You have to have a strong foundation, because you look at yourself as the building leader, the foundation. Your bricks are the teachers. So if your foundation is weak, your bricks are going to fall.
Sure.
So you have to be strong. The young lady, Maury B, she's been on it. I've been seeing her comments. I'm loving her
Good.
comments. I hope you hear
Yeah.
me, Maury. I love your comments.
Keep them
Well,
coming. Lord.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been terribly bothered by all of the donors choose and clear the list as well. I think it's really neat, but the bottom line is that schools need to provide basic supplies so that teachers are not just supplementing, but they're supplanting. And we need to get a handle on this. So the elephant in the room is really standardized testing. I'm sorry, I'm going to throw it out there, but if we can get rid of standardized testing, which is pretty worthless, then we'll have plenty of money to give teachers all the supplies they need, so they're not having to pick on donors choose or clear the list. I find it terribly insulting.
See, Dave, you got to do another thing, because I can get on that. We'll be speaking for a long time. That's test. They need to move, especially right now after COVID. You got to it's going to take some time to things to get somewhat together. Leave that test alone right now. Just let teachers concentrate and working with their students, not worrying about having 30% of this and da-da-da-da-da-da. They can see it's not working because nobody's not meeting them. So it's like, why don't they take the test and see how they get? Okay, that's another story. Okay, I get on the soap opera on that.
Okay. That's a big issue for first-year teachers, because many of them don't have enough stuff to work with. You know, I find that terribly concerning. If a teacher walks in and there's a bare room, we need to go back to basics and make sure that we get those teachers fully equipped. What do you need that you don't have yet? What can I get for you? That's really important, that we show them that just the basics are taken care of. But the thing that I see that has to happen right now is that we need a vertical alignment with staff, but we need a horizontal also, so that we can really do more cross-level teaching. And Dean and I talked about this before, that everybody's a reading teacher now. This is nowhere near where it was, where you teach them to read, then you read to learn. No, we need to learn to read. We learn to read, and then we learn to read better and faster. And we have to do cross-discipline right now, because you've got kids that have interest areas. The children are really the knowledge workers, okay? And the teachers are the guides on the side. They are the designers of the learning with the children, definitely. But we have to rethink this, and this is our time. I don't want to think about this as flying the plane. You know, you've heard the expression that we're building the plane as we're flying it. I see this as our perfect opportunity, even if we start with little baby steps with the teachers who decide to loop or keep their kids. Why are we not looping? Why are we not doing in teams? And why are we not flexibly grouping? I do not believe in such a thing as ability grouping. No way. It's what skills do they know, what skills they don't know. I do not know a single reading program or any other program that does the job on its own. It's always about teachers have to know how to teach the skills. And this is from phonemic awareness all the way through reading and content, reading for meaning. We only have 13% of our children at age 13 that are reading for the fun of it. Only 13%. By age 9, there's 42% of kids reading for fun. By age 13, 13%. So while we're worrying about those test scores, why don't we start thinking about the fact that children are ripping apart novels and ripping apart till they go, can I finally read it now? The idea of teachers doing read aloud should go all the way through high school. And absolutely, we should not say that a kid is not going to remember a read aloud. You know, they'd rather remember a standardized test. That's not true. They're going to remember what the teachers were reading to them. So we have to really paradigm shift this right now of what we're doing. And we have the opportunity now to do it. If not now, when?
Yeah.
Josh, on, Olympus is erupting. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
that's right. It's erupting. Robinson been making some nice comments too. Thanks for the nice comments, Robinson.
Now,
Everybody.
we're almost one more. So how can we use that time instead of the book? Because we have TikTok challenges, we self-discipline issues.
Something is wrong with the
How
sound.
can we
Yeah, we're
unite?
not hearing the commentary.
You get me? Can you hear me? Can you-
Yeah,
Now
you
we
jump
can,
over
yeah.
there for a minute, John.
Crumbling.
Better
Can you
now.
hear
Now,
Yes.
Okay. These TikTok challenges and
froze.
we have other issues. How can we guide our kids to more academic focus and from this? What needs to be established, Joe?
I think one of the things we absolutely have to do
Yep.
is reach out to parents.
Yep.
That they're the beginning of the teaching process.
Right.
They have the children for the first 5 years.
Mhm.
And if they're going to be helicopter parents or snowplow parents or whichever term you want to give, we're going to have a situation where they're receiving different messages.
Mhm.
We can't enable kids. We can't give them devices and say, okay, the television used to keep you quiet. Now it's the device. Well, in Silicon Valley for many, many years, the people who were inventing all of this tech would not let their kids have the tech because they knew what a powerful, the loss is attractive nuisance. It would be. And
Right.
so we not only had that to contend with, but we had the pandemic where the devices pulled them away from us even more.
Right.
So we're fighting a losing battle unless somehow we make a coalition and say, look, let's identify the problem. What's the one thing? We can't solve everything, but let's choose one thing we're going to address maybe this season, this year, whatever it happens to be.
Right.
And let's try something small. Let's get an accomplishment. Not, well, we set out to do 7 things and we only did 3, so we failed. No. You scored 1,000 because you got 3 out of those 3 that you tried for. The other 4, well, they're going to become the next set. We're going to just look at them differently next time.
And we need to take
Awesome.
off that idea of failure anyway. I'm adamantly opposed to all the stuff that goes on about teaching kids how to fail and fail forward. I believe there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that's where mid-course corrections come in.
One
I
quick
know
thing
I'm
about
a little
standardized-
outspoken on some of these things. It's because we're out of time. We have to do some drastic things right now. And this is our time. This is our time to
Read a
think.
quick thing about standardized tests. How many standardized tests do you ever take on a job or in the adult portion of your life? But how many real world skills do you have to exhibit? and you have
Drivers.
to apply? I think that speaks volumes.
It does,
Love
doesn't it?
it. Love it. Martin.
We are fighting culture, but we don't have to fight culture. We're fighting societal culture, but we don't
Right.
have to fight societal culture. And I'm going to give you, because I worked in elementary school for 40 years, so it's a different situation than working with adolescents and teens. What I'm going to say is that when you make your place, your school, a place where this is how we do it, this is how we behave, this is how we act, this is why we do this, you tend to not have the same kinds of issues with things like TikTok challenges, because they were out, and there were neighboring schools to mine that were having issues with the bathrooms and, all those
Mhm.
different things that kids were doing. But we never had that issue. And I'll tell you that the reason that we didn't have that issue was that coming out in front of it and creating, for a while, it wasn't just something that, we decided when those challenges came out. But like when there's a professor, Dr. Kimberly McLeod, who I love. And Dr. McLeod talks about how culture is something that can be changed. It can be built and it can be changed. And, when you create the culture in your building that says this is what happens inside these four walls. I understand that outside of these walls, when you walk out of here, you're in a different place and you may have to behave in a different way. You have choices inside here that you don't have out there, but creating that place for kids and adults that where this is how we do things here, I think makes all the difference in the world.
So you're talking about the culture of continuous learning, really, that we're all learning and upskilling all the time. Well, if we're looking at building capacity in a time where we have to take from business and work lean, that's where some of the issue comes in. So, so much expectation is what I'm saying for the principal. And that's why I so firmly believe in sharing leadership as much as we possibly can to get the principal out of the office doing discipline issues. That's the cart after the horse. You have to have the programs in place so you don't have to deal with the discipline issues.
Wait, and I want to pop back in with one more thing that kind of goes with that. I do want to, I'm going to give an unpopular, I think, opinion here. And, a lot of times we're told schools should reflect the community. And I only believe that in a small way, because what I think, I still, maybe I'm idealistic from my youth. I grew up in a housing project in Brooklyn, right? And I wouldn't have wanted my school to be a housing project in Brooklyn. I wanted my school needed to be the beacon on the hill, right? It needed to be a place where things were great, where things were better, where we learned options, where we learned that things don't have to be the way they are outside of the four walls. They need to be better than things outside the four walls, because when we provide better, it was kind of going, Dot, to what you were saying earlier. When we provide an opportunity for people to see better, then we can, teach them to try to know it and then change for it.
Dot, can you help us out there?
Okay. When I was in the building, I had expectation assembly programs with my students. I didn't say rules. I said expectations. I discussed what the expectations were in the building. I shared them every meeting I had with the students. I sent home a letter to the parents. This is what we discussed, so I can have everyone working together. I had very, very small amount of discipline issues. And most of the ones that I had was something that happened between home and school. While they left the house and by the time they got to school, or it started at home. Right. So I found that if you talk to Johnny that's acting up, it's not like he got up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to go to school and I'm giving everybody hell. Something is going on. So if you just take that second, I used to tell the teachers, take that second and talk with Johnny instead of kicking Johnny out. Johnny may need somebody to talk to. So like I said, I had expected one in the beginning of the school year, one after they came back from winter break, because they have diarrhea of the mind. They lose everything and let everything out when they have a long break. And then at the end of the school year, how you're going to walk home, how we're going to end the school year. There will be no fights and everything. So I never really had any problems, because I believe in setting those expectations right at the beginning and then just reinforce them throughout the year.
Well, you can also do things like, why do we have to have bells? Why do kids have to line up and walk in a line? Because then you're going to have behavioral problems right there, because they're going to be hitting each other. They're too close in the line.
Right. I tell them, always walk on the right side of the hallway. Always keep the right side in mind, because if you're walking whichever direction you're going into, you're on the right side. You're not going to bump into anybody on the other side. So, and I used to tell the teachers, don't talk about your expectations, show them. If you're going to say, okay, we're going to walk down the hallway when we go to the cafeteria, no, take them out there and show them. Because I used to show them, you walk in this building, you come in and sign in before you go to the classroom. So I know you're here. So I did the same thing with them. This is what you do. So I know you're in this building.
That's called modeling.
It's called modeling, right? And when I did that, I had donuts and coffee for them at the end. I said, okay.
Rita,
model everything.
Rita, hold on. Rita, closing thoughts. We're in a handful of minutes. Closing thoughts. How do we do it?
I don't have anything else to say. I think I've said it all. I just feel like, honestly, I really feel that this is our opportunity right now to make changes that we've wanted to do for a long time. And this is the year to do it. So we have to be bold. We have to take risks. And we have to know that whatever we do will work. And if it doesn't work, we'll just flip it right then. So I think it's about being aware and doing things we haven't been doing before, because this is our time to do it. That's my message. This is our chance to do things that we know we should be doing or could be doing. And that's it.
All right, we're bubbling over right now. There's some great stuff being shared here by all of you. And thank you so much. In 30 seconds or left, Joe, you're up first. What message do you have for educators entering the 2023-24 year? Go. 30 seconds.
I want them to keep a thought in mind. We all say those that can do, those that can't teach. Well, that's not what the saying is, because some little known guy, I think his name was Aristotle, he said, those that can do, those that understand, teach. And there's a big difference in that. So we need to value education. We need to value our teachers, and Teacher of the Year should be as important as the winner of the Super Bowl.
Boom. Thank you. Dot, you're up.
Okay, remember, your thoughts become things and your things become actions. So think positive, because what you think about, you bring about. You bring into existence. So always be positive.
Absolutely love it. Martin, you're up.
My advice would be, it is going to be fine. It's always going to be fine. If you just allow yourself, the grace to make mistakes, to be with your people and understand, that your job there is to make school the best place it can be for kids and staff and families every day, you're going to be okay.
Bingo. Rita, take us home.
That's it. If not us, who? If not now, when?
Ooh, powerful.
Yeah.
And powerful. Josh, what do you think about that?
Thank you, everybody. It was an awesome show, and we did a touchdown. We have back the touchdown right there. We had a championship game, and we won it. But you know what? It's not over. Team Packard, it is not over. This Sunday, join us for the flagship show at 7 p.m. Eastern with Dr. Craig Boykin from GED to PhD, talking about his book, The IEP Trap. And next Thursday, Red Zone, Podcast Smash 5, our final one of the summer session, Podcast Smash 5. And so I have the duties of the song. Here we go.
Hey, I'll take us home. Thank you very much, Joe, Dot, Martin, and Rita. So much.
Thank you.
You guys are unbelievable at what you do, and your energy is endless. And I'll tell you, you're an envy to all of us. So thanks for being what you are. Thanks for being who you are. And more importantly, thanks for everything.
Righty.
Stay on. Call for a moment, guys. Have a great week, everybody. And remember, everything we do is all about what's best for kids. Don't ever. Have a great week, everybody. And
Okay. Bye-bye.